checking out another segment of R and Rouse nonsense, or watching a movie, I'm going to be interviewed for a show. We thought we'd tape it, but you see the kind of stuff I get to do once in a while around here. So, brother, tell our folks all about yourself and what you do and what you want out of me.
Well, Daniel here from Contending for Christ Ministries and everything. Just honored to have you and your ministry, your staff on the channel. Basically, C4C was pretty much born out of Jude verse number 3, to contend for the faith which was once delivered to the saints. So basically what we try to do here is just talk a little bit about how to defend your faith, the importance of understanding a literal interpretation of at least the first few chapters of Genesis. I think that's vital with many other doctrines and everything as well. And so that's pretty much what the crux of the channel is. Been privileged to have a debate before. I'm not a big debate fan or anything else. There's a lot of questions as far as are they even beneficial? And that's one thing I'd like to pick your brain about too. But before we get into that, I'd like to find out a little bit about you and your testimony. How did you come to know Jesus Christ as your Savior?
I was saved from a life of crime at the age of 5. No. I was raised Lutheran, Methodist, Mennonite. We visited all kinds of churches, Catholic, every kind there was, I think, Mormon. Went to the Mormon Tabernacle. And when I was 16, someone asked me if I was going to heaven. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I've been baptized, catechized, homogenized, circumcised, what else is there? And they said, well, have you ever sinned? I said, well, yeah. He said, well, then you're going to hell, unless you got somebody to pay for that. Mm-hmm. I said, well, isn't God going to put my good works against my bad? And they said, what judge on earth does that?
Yeah.
If you killed somebody and you went to court and for trial, and they said, look, Judge, I did kill the guy, but look at all the people I did not kill. Let's put my good against my bad. You can say, I can bring in all my neighbors and they will testify I did not kill them. Okay. Well, yeah, but then we'll just punish you for the one bad you did. And so people don't realize, well, our sin is really bad in God's sight because He's perfect. So my friend showed me that I was a sinner and that I deserved to go to hell, and Jesus died in my place. And so February 9, 1969, coming up on 50 years ago, I prayed. I said, Lord, I am a sinner. I believe you died for me, and I accept your payment. I believe you died and rose from the dead. I want you to come move in my heart and pay for my sins. Amen. And something got planted that day, brother. I can't explain it. I still can't explain it, but something started growing. So it's been almost 50 years. When I was 16 years old, I gave my heart to the Lord, and haven't looked back since.
And so a 16-year-old kid, where were you at that time? Where were you living? Big city or?
Well, I never grew up anywhere, actually, but I got older in East Peoria, Illinois. And my brother went to college down in Bloomington, Illinois, Bloomington Normal, Illinois State. And he got saved through the influence of the Navigators Bible Study group down there in Bloomington. And he got concerned about his little brother. And so he called me. He said, hey, Kent, you want to come spend the weekend with me? I thought, my brother wants his little brother to come down and spend the weekend? What is this, So anyway, I did. And it was the Navigators Bible Study group that talked to me about the Lord and ended up getting saved that weekend.
Wonderful. Now, Peoria, Illinois, is that a rough area?
Well, East Peoria is an interesting town. About, I don't know how big it is. We were on the outskirts, just barely inside the border of East Peoria, right next to Morton, Illinois, where I grew up. And, no, it was nice. Okay. Our school was interesting. We had about 2,000 students in high school, only one black student.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It was pretty prejudiced, I'm not at all, but it was pretty prejudiced in that area.
Yeah.
It's called the Mid-State Nine. It's on the tennis team. We played tennis with all the other schools, I was on the chess team and stuff like that. Anyway.
Yes. So from Alabama, we end up moving up to South Dakota, and growing up in Maryland myself, I came from a school where pretty much me and my brother were the only white people. Then we come up to South Dakota, and now it's just white people and Native Americans all around. So it's kind of funny is learning different cultures and everything up north. I started talking to people out here, and like you do when you move to new locations, you want to find out where's the rough areas, where do I want to stay away from. So they're like, oh yeah, you want to stay away from North and La Crosse. I was like, why? They're like, because there's a lot of natives up there. And I was thinking to myself, a lot of natives. It's like, we're all native to America. We're all Americans, but I guess they were talking about Native Americans and everything. So that was a bit of a culture change I had to go through and whatnot. But So you already talked about your ministry. How long have you been doing this? How long have you been doing your creation ministry?
Well, you mentioned La Crosse, Wisconsin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're talking about? My parents were raised in La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my grandfather came from Norway and was a carpenter up there. Built a lot of houses. My mom grew up at 22nd and Cass Street in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So I've been up there. You're right. There are some rough parts of that town. But so after I got saved, I started reading my Bible, going to church, a little Baptist church, and really started growing in the Lord. The pastor had 10,000 sermons on audio cassette.
Wow.
And he would every week he'd give me 4 or 5. Hey, I can't listen to this, So as I drove back and forth to school, I listened to sermons. So I was getting preached to, 6 or 8 times a week, And so I really grew fast in the Lord. Yeah. And then went off to my first 1 year junior college there at Illinois Central College in Peoria, and then wanted to major in teaching and science teaching or math teaching or both. But ended up transferring to Western Baptist College in Pontiac, Michigan.
Okay.
And I got a job at General Motors, so I was working second shift, 40 hours a week. I took a 20-hour load in college, which is way beyond normal, and slept a couple hours a night. And I went through college in total of 3 years, including summer schools and all that.
Yeah.
I got married before my senior year of college. So, and then I went back to, my pastor called me. Well, first, when I about to graduate from college, my foreman at General Motors Truck and Coach Company said, Kent, we'd like you to stay on and go to foreman school. We like your work here. You're a good worker and sharp and can catch on quickly, and you'd make a good employee for General Motors.
Right.
And we'll pay you start off at $350 a week. $350 a week. This is back in 1974.
Okay.
That was a lot. My pastor called, Pastor Dawson called and said, Kent, I'd like you to come back and be my assistant pastor. We can pay $100 a week. So I went home, prayed about it, and I said, Lord, I don't want to build trucks. I don't want to build General Motors cars. I don't want to serve you. So I took the job for $100 a week instead of $350 a week and moved back to Pekin, Illinois.
Yeah.
And after about a year, Pastor Dawson said, I really feel led to go back into evangelism, which is what he did before that. And so I'd like to recommend the church vote you in as pastor.
Oh, wow.
I said, I'm 22 years old. He said, yeah, you're ready for this. I said, okay. So they voted me in, I think it was unanimous, and we'd like him to be the pastor. So he left back for evangelism. I pastored just for a short time. That was back in the early 70s, and everybody was starting Christian schools.
Wow.
And so I said, I got to start a Christian school. So we started Bethel Baptist Academy, and I was the principal, math and science teacher. I had about 80 students, and really enjoyed it. Loved it. After about a year, I felt like, this is where I need to be. I enjoyed preaching and teaching, but this pastoring is an unseen burden that only a pastor can explain. You can never set it down. You always carry the burden of the church. Most people can go to work and it's close, quitting time, they can forget about work.
Yeah.
The pastor can never do that. And I was too young, it weighed on me, and so I said, I'm going to resign. And a friend of mine at Kankakee called me and said, would you come be our school, our math and science teacher?
Okay.
Up in Kankakee, Illinois, at a Christian school. So I wrestled with it. I drove up there in a snowstorm. My wife was that was February, and Eric was born in June, so she was 6 months pregnant with child number 2. Anyway, I drove up, interviewed, and they said, man, we want you here. So I ended up moving there and worked with Bob Gray for 9 years altogether in Christian school, teaching math and science. So then when I came to Pensacola, Florida, I'd only been in town a couple of weeks, and the neighbor said, hey, would you like to take the paper? I throw the newspaper. I said, no, I don't have a parakeet. And he said, well, if I have an extra, can I throw it in the yard? I said, well, sure. So he threw it in the yard. Article was in there that said dinosaur bones found in Montana from 80 million years ago. Typical propaganda.
Yeah.
And I thought, hey, I'm new in town. Somebody ought to stir up trouble. So I wrote my first ever letter to the editor and said, these dinosaur bones are not 80 million years old. They're 4,400 years old. They drowned in the flood in the days of Noah. The earth is not millions of years old. The dinosaurs lived with man. They called them dragons. And this article is mistaken about the age. And they published my letter, and you would have thought I had shot the sacred cow.
Wow.
I got called everything but a white boy for the next 6 months in the Pensacola News Journal. And I wrote letters back and forth, and it was quite a battle in the letter to the editor section.
And when was that?
And so,
what year was that?
That was we moved there in January of 89. So very early in 1989, there were articles going back and forth. I think it took about 6 months. And finally, some students called me from the University of West Florida, UWF in Pensacola. They said, we're reading all your letters in our anthropology class, and our teacher, who's a strong believer in evolution, thinks you're crazy, and would you be willing to come do a debate?
Oh.
I said, I've never had a debate in my life, except with my wife, and I lose those every time, but sure. So I did my first ever debate. I don't remember the date. It would have been probably summer, or maybe fall of 1989. I did a debate, about 1,000 people there, and somebody videotaped it. They videotaped it from the back row, 1,000-seat auditorium. Didn't even have a microphone on me. Picked up on the camera mic. It was lousy audio, lousy video. We're about this tall on the screen, both of us up there. And a lot of people came up afterwards and said, hey, can I get a copy of that tape? I had no idea how to make a copy of a tape. So the neighbor kid threw the newspaper. He said, I got a VCR. I'll bring my VCR over. We can hook the wires up, and you can make copies.
Oh, yeah.
And people kept saying, I want a copy. I want a copy of that debate. Because it was really, I think, my first ever debate, but I slaughtered the poor guy.
So what was the debate topic?
Everybody wanted. The topic was on creation evolution, based on all my letters to the editor. Right? And so I started making copies of the tapes, and I realized I'm going to go broke in a hurry if I give away all these tapes. So I said, listen, if you want to get the tape, I learned right away that Baptists especially, but Christians in general, don't steal, but they do borrow and never return. And so it was costing me a fortune. So I said, look, you give me $10, I'll give you the videotape, and then when you bring it back, you get your $10 back.
Okay, yeah.
That way, you got the tape, I got the $10.
Yeah.
And that started our policy, which we still today do. You can buy our videos, watch them, send them back, get your money back. I've been doing it for 30 years that way.
And I just saw that on your series talking about making a copy, returning it, and getting your money back. Yeah, it's wonderful. No copywriting, and you're just giving it out free of charge to equip the saints.
We did have to copyright them because people were copying them and selling them.
Oh. I
said, well, hold it, that's my intellectual property. If you want to copy it, give it away, that's fine. But if you're going to make money off it, you go study like I have for 50 years, learn what I know. And so they are copyrighted, but only condition you can copy it, but you have to give it away for free. You can't resell it.
Right.
But anyway, that started the ministry. That debate, the pastor said, would you come share this stuff at our church?
Yeah.
And I was doing handyman work and working at a cabinet shop. I was foreman at a big fancy display case cabinet shop. We built the big stuff for Gapers and Saks Fifth Avenue, the kind of stuff you see, the islands that people buy your trip in. I love carpentry work, and so we did all that. I was foreman there, and I was getting so many calls to go speak all over the place. And finally I said, brother, he was a good Christian friend of mine, owned the cabinet shop. I said, I can't keep doing this, traveling every weekend and working all week. I can't keep up. I think I'm going to have to resign. He said, I understand, and you ought to. He said, I'll support your ministry.
Wonderful.
So anyway, that took the plunge. And my first full-time meeting, we drove my old Chevy van, which I bought for 25 cents. Guy sold it to me for $0.25. I'm serious. The roof leaked, and no heater in it.
But it ran.
We drove it to South Dakota. What's that?
But it ran, though.
Oh, yeah, it ran pretty good. We drove it all the way to South Dakota. My kids would have been probably 11, 12, and 13, or 10, 11, and 12. My kids are a year and 2 weeks apart. It's called family planning. And so, we drove all the way to South Dakota. 40 people in the town, Union Center, South Dakota. First full-time meeting and full-time evangelism. And 38 of them came to church.
No, wow.
Out of 40, not bad.
That's a good percentage.
Spoke all week long. It was awesome. Everybody, it was great. My first time in full-time evangelism. And I began collecting a lot more materials. I was using a slide projector back then. So every time I wanted to add a new slide in slot number 45, you got to move all the rest of it back a slot,
Oh, wow.
I spent hours moving slides around. I would take pictures on the textbooks and crop it. I would actually put black tape on the sides to square it up if I didn't take the picture square. I'd block off and put them in the slide projector.
Yeah.
I got up to 12 carousels of slides.
What is that?
I was carrying with me.
What is carousel?
The round thing that slides the carousel slide. I had 12 of them in a slide projector. And I'd go set up and preach, and I'd take it off and put on a new tray, you know. And then when it came out with PowerPoint, oh, I thought I died and went to heaven. It was like, whoa, what is this, you know?
But see, that's what I love about
Anyway, so
that's what I love about your ministry, and a lot like it is the fact that they're very visually stimulating. You know, you get a lot of videos, you get a lot of great people, great apologists, but it's just all auditory. There's no visual. And someone like me and a lot of others, we need that visual to be able to not only really understand it more, but just to engage a lot more, a lot easier. And so, definitely.
I remember a lot when I see it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what really got me started. When I was teaching in Longview, Texas, Bob Gray from Kankakee, Illinois, where I went, had moved to Texas and kept asking us, come to Texas, come to Texas. So finally we did, and I worked for him for 5 more years down there. Mm-hmm. And one of the teachers at the college, they started a Christian college there, Texas Baptist College, which is still going. I taught there for a while. One of the teachers was Julian Pope. Okay. His son, Johnny Pope, is a pastor in Houston, Texas, a fabulous, fabulous preacher. Johnny Pope, Christ Church Baptist, I think, Christ Church Baptist, anyway, Houston, Texas, Johnny Pope. Yeah. His secretary is the Lord, Mrs. Lord. So the Lord works for the Pope. You know? So, a little bit of trivia there. Dr. Julian Pope was just a fabulous man of God. He taught theology at the college there. I taught math and science and creation science. And I went to him one day. I said, Dr. Pope, how do you know God's will for your life? He said, man, that's easy. I said, tell me. Got my pen out. He said, you don't need a pen for this. He said, you want to know God's will? I said, yeah. He said, find a need and fill it.
Oh, yeah.
What does the world need? Do we need more carpenters? Do we need more plumbers? What does the world need? What do you see as the greatest need? Yeah. He said, don't tell me. Go think of it. So I went home and thought about it, prayed about it, and I said, you know, I've heard these guys speak on creation. Henry Morris, Wayne Gish, and I've got all their books here. They're fabulous, but they're speaking over everybody's head.
A lot of time, yeah.
We need somebody to explain this and use a lot of visuals and pictures, you know. And so I've always used lots of, you know, slides. I think I now have probably close to 10,000 in my seminar that I use, plus all my other materials.
Wow.
I work on my every day. I mean, that's just, I dream. I live for this, you know, to find a way to explain it simply.
Yeah.
That's the goal, is to make it. So I purposely try to, God gifted me years ago by keeping me permanently in 4th grade. I'm stuck right there and having a good time. Don't intend to graduate, so I like to explain things very simply for folks.
Do you still eat glue? You still eat glue and everything?
Eat glue?
Yeah, wasn't that around that time?
No, I don't do that anymore.
Well, that's good.
I do. You should Google my Dr. Hovind's famous sandwich. I still eat those. Sandwich. Peanut butter, jelly, cheese, banana, lettuce, tomato, bacon. Ugh. Oh, and you put it on there. Yeah. You think about it for hours after you eat one of them.
Okay.
I feel that.
Well, I'll just...
All right, go ahead.
One thing I like about watching your videos and everything and listening to you speak is just your humor. You know, one thing, obviously, the visuals. Another thing is how you just break it down in layman terms. But the other thing is your humor. I remember watching a creation seminar, one of the video sessions that you did. You were talking about a dog, whether it was your dog or a dog you had saw. And you had said it was a Canardly. And they were like, Canardly, what's that? I was like, yeah, you can hardly tell what it is. And so, you know, we still use that. The other day, you had a joke. You were talking about people that are antagonistic to you and everything. Talk about they have to get through a lot of people. Then you got to get through these. You're like, I know karate, I know judo, taekwondo, and I know about 7 other Japanese words. So your humor definitely pulls your audience in, and I appreciate that, just being one on that other side. So one thing, you said you were a math teacher, right?
Right.
I ask a lot of math teachers this question. Have you ever heard of the Mandelbrot set?
Yes. Refresh her a little bit, but yeah, I'm familiar with it. Go ahead.
Basically, the Mandelbrot set, yeah, it's sort of like fractal geometry. Basically, Dr. Jason Lyle brings this up and everything, that there's a particular formula that an individual figured out that the numbers that belong in that set, when you plot it on a chart, it makes this design, this infinite design, this pattern. No matter how far out you zoom out or how far you zoom in, it's the same pattern, fractal geometry and everything. And I'm just curious, you know, if you had ever heard of it from a math teacher, and if you ever had any success trying to just show the hand or the fingerprint of God to an unbeliever or a skeptic through some evidential means like that?
I don't use that one because I would lose every fourth grader in the room in 2
That's
seconds.
right, yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to reach the kids, junior high, high school, grade school. And so guys like Jason Lyle and some of these guys are just really off the chart smart, Let them use that stuff.
Okay.
I don't.
So your target audience is more of the younger generation, the ones that are carrying the torch, after we're off the scene, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, it definitely makes sense. Well, let me ask you this. What are the best methods? Well, actually, first, let me back that up. How do you find out? Uh-oh. Hi.
That's okay. I'm letting the people on our camera see what you look like, okay?
There you go. Okay. I know what they look like.
They don't have you up on screen. It messed up the audio or something.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll edit it in there.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'd be curious to ask your thoughts on how do you find out whether somebody is teachable or not? If you have an atheist, how do you know if they're teachable, or are you just casting your pearls before swine?
Well, it's like the farmer that sold his mule to the Baptist preacher, and the Baptist preacher came back and said, "I cannot get this mule to do anything. He doesn't listen to anything I say."
Mm-hmm.
So the farmer looked at the mule, walked over, picked up a short 2x4, went around in front of the mule, bam, hit him in the head really hard. He said, "Well, first you got to get his attention." Mm-hmm. And it's kind of that way with teaching some people. First you got to get their attention. Are you listening? I debate a lot of atheists and skeptics and things that people that I know full well I'm not going to reach them.
Okay.
But it helps thousands of other people that watch the videos.
And I think that's key there, because I've had this thought before that the debates, and even if one were to go on like a Facebook and argue there, the debate's not really for the person you're arguing with. It's for those silent watchers, those people that are just reading or listening to reach them. And so, awesome. Well, I got to ask you, Archaeopteryx. I think I pronounced that right. The supposed, transitional fossil between reptile and birds and everything. What's the easiest way to refute that? Because out here in South Dakota, we have reptile gardens. They have a description and a fossil, if you will, of Archaeopteryx. But what's the best way to refute that?
Archaeopteryx is a fossil. It's bones. You can't prove it had any children. You certainly couldn't prove it had children that lived. So I point out, it doesn't matter if it looks halfway from bird to reptile, okay? I don't think it is. It's not transition to anything. Mm-hmm. But no animal today is producing anything other than its kind. I mean, reptiles are still having babies. Why don't they make a bird?
Right.
Why don't we see it? It only takes place in the imagination. Oh, SpongeBob, imagination. Yeah. So it's not science. Even if Archaeopteryx is exactly what they say it is, and it may indeed be a fraud, a hoax, bird feathers glued onto the bones of the reptile. That's been many people study Archaeopteryx and think the whole thing's a fake. Oh. Okay, it doesn't matter to me. They're missing the bigger point. It's dead. It's bones. It's not evidence for evolution. No fossil could possibly count as evidence. You couldn't prove it had any children. You sure couldn't prove it had different children. And you couldn't prove it had any children that lived.
Yeah. So
it does, in a real honest court of law, no fossils of any kind would count in the argument. You can't prove that's a transition between anything.
Yeah. And you brought up.
If you found.
No, go ahead.
If you found a three-wheeler in the junkyard. Mm-hmm. Whoa! Look at this. The motorcycles are transitioning into cars. No. Motorcycles are designed with 2 wheels. Cars are designed with 4. And 3-wheelers are designed with 3. Right. It's not a transition between the two. It's a completely separate design. So if Archaeopteryx is legitimate, and if they found 100 more just like it and could prove that's what it looked like, I would say, okay, that proves the extinction of a creature that looked like Archaeopteryx. That's all it would prove.
True.
Because we don't know of any alive today like that.
Yeah.
The Hoatzin has claws on its wings, the bird in South America. There are birds with claws on their wings, okay? But that's not proof of anything. Teeth in the beak isn't proof for anything.
Nope.
There's a hummingbird has 48 teeth. One hummingbird does from Panama, I believe. I say some birds have teeth, some don't. Some reptiles have teeth, some don't. Some mammals have teeth, some of you have teeth, and some don't. Okay, doesn't prove anything in one way or the other. Plus, if it went from Archaeopteryx having teeth, turning into a bird with no teeth, I say, guys, that's losing something. That's not gaining.
Yeah.
How's that going to help evolution? You're losing everything until you have it all? Is that what you believe? You're wasting your time on most of them. I tell people, if I have to plant my yard, my backyard, I'm going to plant a garden to feed my family for the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Half my yard is good soil, half of it is hard rock.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to waste a lot of time on the rock. I'm going to get the good soil planted first. If I have time,
right,
I'll go work on the rock. But if you don't, oh well. I look at most of the atheists that way. They're the hard rock. If I get time, I'll go try to plow. But generally, I'm looking for the good soil to plant in.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. You had made mention of like imagination with SpongeBob and everything, and it makes me think of right, Lucy. I think it's what is it, Australopithecus or whatever they call it. And I've looked at that in quite some length and everything. And what's fascinating is you never find eyeballs when you find bones. And I think one of the most fascinating things about that is you look at the entire animal kingdom, and you won't see the white part, the sclera, I think is what it's called, as much as you do with a man, a human or whatever. And so what they do with Lucy is they go ahead and give them that sclera, a human eye, to bring a human lifelike sense. And human feet, because when you look at the skeleton that they have, the fossils, you could tell what bones they added to it to complete the picture. Plus, they manipulated the pelvis when they found it, because supposedly it got stepped on by an animal, crushed, then it fused together, and whatever the case. So I agree with you that some of this stuff is just really wasting our time and casting our pearls before the swines. But I wanted to ask you about Archaeopteryx. I also want to ask you, as far as Creation Evangelism goes, because one of the big parts about it is witnessing and evangelizing to the lost. What are some of the best things you found, methods, topics, to actually be that eye-opening experience, to get their attention, to lead them to a relationship with Jesus? What are some of the best things you found in your ministry?
Well, since our target audience is probably, grade school, junior high, high school, college level, I found dinosaurs is the key.
Okay.
DrDino.com is our website. Our phone number is 855-BIG-DINO. I like dinosaurs. So, Dinosaur Adventureland here in Lenox, Alabama. This gets everybody's attention. The 4-year-olds like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
3-year-olds like it. On my business card, I've got dinosaurs. And so when I go anywhere shopping, all to the store, I ask the kids, I say, hey, you want a dinosaur? Oh, yeah. And it's got the plan of salvation on the back. It's actually a gospel tract.
Yeah.
So we give these out like butter,
There you go.
Plus, it's got my picture in front to keep the rats out of the house. You put that on your dresser. But got a map how to get to our property. So I think dinosaurs are a great tool to open the conversation.
Yeah.
I spoke at a school one time. There were 300 first graders, this massive public school system, and they brought all the first grade classes in for me to speak to.
Wow.
Try to speak to 300 first graders sometime.
No.
I said, boys and girls, when did dinosaurs live? Instantly. All of them shouted out, millions of years ago. I thought, wait, these kids can barely read. They're in first grade.
Wow.
And they already believe dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. See, the devil has been smart. He's been using God's creatures to brainwash kids from the time they're 3.
Mm-hmm.
There are 3-year-olds that know the names of 50 different dinosaurs. They can't read a word. But from the TV stuff they see, they already believe they lived millions of years ago. It's time Christians take over the dinosaurs and use them as God's missionary lizards. That's part of God's creation.
Yeah. No, definitely.
If I had to narrow it down to one tool, that's the one I like using the best.
And so that's a good segue into this that my wife got me for, I think, my birthday one year. So
you have one of the Ica stone.
I do. Can you talk a little bit about this and as far as, because from what I understand, I've researched this and everything, and some people one of the arguments I have is, how do people know what dinosaurs look like? If they didn't start finding bones until, what, the late 1800s or something like that, how do they know that they look like this? And so when I was researching arguments against this, there's one belief that there was a shaman that picked up a dinosaur bone, had a vision, and in the vision saw this, and that's where... So, from what... Can you talk a little bit about this stone and everything?
Sure. There's a book called The Secrets of the Ica Stones. Do we have that one or sell that one? We sell that book. Dennis Swift out in Beaverton, Oregon, Pastor Swift, is probably the smartest guy on that topic. What happened in the 1500s, I think about 1530, the Spanish came into Ecuador and Peru, South America, and they found these stones with strange creatures carved out of them, and they reported them back to Spain. They said, man, there are some strange animals on these stones that we found here in Peru, mostly. And so they've been reported since the 1500s. The stones are all sizes. Some are small like a baseball. Some are big as a soccer, big as a beach ball. But generally about the size you have is kind of the average. They found over 50,000 of these stones in the graves there around Peru. Who knows how many more there are, but that's what's been found. Dr. Cabrera down there just died here recently. He had a ginormous collection of them. I believe he had over 20,000 just in his collection of these stones. Many of them show really things that are hard to believe, that like they were doing amputations, brain surgery. They had copper instruments, and it was a type of a hardened copper alloy that you can sharpen sharper than razor blades. They did this was back. The Ica civilization, ICA, was from about 300 BC to I think 700 AD.
Okay.
Dr. Swift is a Nazarene pastor in Beaverton, Oregon. He wrote the book about the secrets of the Ica stones. It's fabulous. We sell the book on our website, Dr. Dino, but he has studied it more than anybody that I'm aware of. What happened, there was a down there who was getting these stones out of the graves, which is illegal to rob the graves, okay, to begin with. And so he was selling them all over the country, out of the country, because tourists would come down there. Oh, I want one of those, okay? So the Peruvian police came out to his house with the news media, and they interviewed him and said, we understand you're getting these stones out of the graves and selling them. He said, oh, no, I carve them and make them in my shop. They said, well, show us. So he went back to his shop and he carved one. It looked like a child's play compared to what you have there, But he did that because right behind the cameraman was two police officers going to arrest him and put him in jail if he was selling the Peruvian national treasure. And like Dr. Swift says, you do not want to go to jail in Peru. You think American jails are bad. You go down there, So he said, I'm making them. And the atheists are still running with that stupidity. They're saying, oh yeah, those stones are fake. They're all fake. Because that one farmer admitted making them. I don't think one farmer could make 50,000 stones in 5 lifetimes, okay, to begin with. So, and it is, the whole story is baloney. There are some fake stones, okay, but when stone ages over periods of hundreds of years, it gets a thin coating on it called a patina, a desert patina it's called. And so when you look at the stones under the microscope, you'll see the patina on the stone goes down into the grooves where the carvings are. Now, I had 8 of them in Pensacola in my museum. Hope to get them back one day. But we took one of them and sacrificed it to put a rubber coating on it to make a mold so we could make copies of the stone. Everybody wanted just stone. So we made copies knowing once we put the rubber on there to make the mold, it's going to peel off the patina. And we're basically going to ruin the authenticity of it.
Oh, yeah.
So we did that to one. We made thousands of copies of that one. And people, we had it on our website for $15 or something, if people wanted to get one. And we'll probably do it again here someday. But that's the secret of the Ica stones. It's a big book. It's $12 if you want to get this by Dennis Swift, DrDino.com. They can just call 855 Big Dino Extension 1 and get that. It's a fabulous book. If you call Dr. Swift, he's a good friend of mine. Tell him keep reading that Bible. He can be a Baptist instead of a Nazarene. I tell him that every time I call. You still reading that Bible? Yeah, you a Baptist yet? No. He's a great guy. A genius guy. Go ahead.
One thing about the Ikastones, if I may, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's said to have been made of andesite. Is that correct? Or is that something else?
I believe that's right.
Because
yeah,
what amazes me is if this is made of andesite, and from my research, looking at the Mohs hardness scale, andesite is just a bit softer than a diorite rock. Diorite being a little harder. And what's fascinating is they think that they wouldn't have the tools to make this back then and everything else. But when you look at the Code of Hammurabi, back around supposedly around the 3rd century or 3rd millennia BC or so, that's made of diorite. And they have the intricate carvings within that, but yet they couldn't do this on this andesite rock. I just find a bit of a hypocrisy from the atheistic standpoint and everything regarding that. I gotta ask you this, and I saw your videos, and you've already talked a lot about Mekili Bembe and Nessie. You've talked a lot about Ogopogo and Champ, but I want to ask you, Bigfoot. Thoughts about Bigfoot, Yeti, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, my brother has 2 of them.
He's got 2 big feet.
2 big feet. He's 6'4".
There you go. That's kind of big. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts? I mean, do you think the sightings are legit? If so, what do you think Bigfoot could be? Obviously, it's not some intermediate, human ape-like creature. Do you think they're all just, fabricated stories? What are your thoughts?
I have interviewed 8 people who swear they've seen one.
Okay.
I've never seen one. I've read many books on the topic. I've interviewed 8 people who've seen them. I think I've heard all the different theories.
Mm-hmm.
I've decided I don't know.
Okay.
I can't figure it out. Some people think it's an unidentified species of ape. Some people think it's some of the hippies from the 60s that haven't come in yet. They're still out there smoking dope and they're hairy and they stink. I don't know. I've got books in here on Bigfoot someplace. I don't know where in my library here, but it's a fascinating topic. I interviewed one guy. He said he was living in a trailer and he heard noise outside, and his dog was barking. So he stepped out on the porch of his trailer and looked, and there was this Bigfoot creature digging in his trash can.
Right.
And when it stood up, it was equal to the height of his mobile home. So it would have been about 9 feet tall.
Right.
It saw him, and he said when it turned to look at him, the eyes glowed. Like, some animals, when you shine a light in their eyes, they glow back. Human eyes don't do that.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then it took off and ran into the woods. What do you do with a story like that? You can call them all liars.
Yeah.
Or you can say they were, smoking dope or something. I don't know. I wish I had an answer, brother. I'll stick with dinosaurs. I can't answer the Bigfoot question.
Is there any hope in the future? Maybe you do dive into that, or are you just done with that aspect of it?
I think I'm probably done. I'm willing to listen to stories, but I don't want to discredit, no matter which position I take, they'll use that against you. Yeah. I speak 4,000 hours on dinosaurs and science in the Bible and speak 10 seconds on Bigfoot, and they'll discredit me, everything based on that.
True.
So it's not worth. No, it's a rabbit trail I don't want to go down.
No, I can understand. So let me ask you, so like in the book of Peter, it talks about that the world was in water and out of water, right? And the God of the heavens and the earth standing out of the water and in the water. Could you elaborate a little bit about what you believe that really is as far as in and out of the water? Is that talking about the canopy theory type deal, or what is that?
I don't see any other way to interpret that, because it says the birds fly in the firmament, Genesis 1:20, and it says there was water above the firmament. So there had to be water above where the birds
right,
which we don't have today. Okay, our atmosphere is about 60 miles thick, depending how you want to count it. What exactly counts as atmosphere? But the space shuttle has to go out about 60 miles to fly around to be free of atmospheric resistance. Once they get past that and get the right speed and trajectory and all that stuff, they can kind of they're friction free. Well, Josephus, right behind me here, the book of Josephus, you can read chapter 1. He says the Jews have always believed there was a crystalline canopy above the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then in my video number 2, which is called The Garden of Eden, What Was It Like? If they want to get my seminar part 2, you get the whole seminar series for $50 on drdino.com, 18 hours long. Mm-hmm. But video number 2 is about the Garden of Eden. What was it like? Why did they live to be 900 years old? And is this?
That's my video.
Okay, good. Doesn't have a fancy label on it. So the Jews have always taught that there was a crystalline canopy over the atmosphere, and they argued whether it was 2 fingers thick or 3 fingers thick. How they know that, I don't know, but that is historically for centuries. That's what they talked about. That God may have told Adam. Mm-hmm. You know, if you took all the air that's now stretched out about 60 miles, squeezed it down to 10 miles, mm-hmm. it would increase air pressure at the surface maybe 20-30%. I don't know. I'm sure you can do the math on that. But right now, if you go up 5 miles to Mount Everest, you can't breathe without carrying oxygen with you. Very few people can go. You know, I think it's been climbed a few times without oxygen, but they didn't stay there very long. Get dizzy and get sick and altitude sickness. Yeah. So that's 5 miles up. If you go up, if you could squeeze all the air down to 10 miles, mm-hmm. it would make it easier for birds to fly because the air is thicker, okay. which means you could have bigger birds. They found the fossil of a bird. I think it was a 50-foot wingspan. I've got pictures of it in one of the books around here somewhere.
That was a
they certainly find 50-foot necklace. What's that?
That was the thunderbird, wasn't
it? Yeah, the thunderbird. They find giant insects, dragonflies with 4 and 5 foot wingspan. Couldn't possibly fly today. The air's too thin. You couldn't fly fast enough. Mm-hmm. But if the air were thicker, they could fly. And plus, insects breathe through their skin, so they face a real serious problem. As they grow larger, they have a surface area to volume problem. They don't have enough skin to receive enough oxygen for the inside of their body. And I covered that in my video number 6 about video 2 also. The problem with insects and their breathing mechanism limits their size.
Yeah.
Because they find cockroaches 18 inches long, fossils. They find grasshoppers 2 feet long, fossilized. They did live. I don't see any way to explain it besides greater air pressure,
okay,
or richer oxygen in the air, or both. I think probably both.
No, that's a good point. And then I guess there's argument that the oxygen is there's more oxygen available, or some argument like that. One final thing I want to pick your brain about, and I've had this question from a few people, and I have some friends of mine that are teetering on the fence about it. You had a globe up, right? You just held a globe up.
Yeah.
Rob,
Earth is round. And it spins.
Can you elaborate? Because some people, and you got the likes of like Rob Skiba, that they'll go out there and they'll try to go ahead and do some eisegesis and put their views into Scripture. And can you explain biblically how to prove that the Earth is actually round, spherical, and not flat like it's being promoted nowadays?
Well, the flat earthers, I've addressed it 5 times on my YouTube channel, Kent Hovind Official. It frustrates me because it is so contrary to obvious observable science and contrary to the Scriptures. The Bible says in the book of Isaiah, the Lord sits on the circle of the earth. And they will argue, see, it's a circle, not a sphere. Mm-hmm. I say, guys, I taught geometry for 15 years. Let me explain something to you. Circles do not exist. There's no such thing as a circle, except in the imagination. It's a completely imaginary construct for geometry, and I can tell you all about a circle if you'd like, and a chord and a radius, and how to figure the circumference and the diameter and the area if you'd like. That's what I taught for 15 years. I can really explain circles to you.
Huh.
Okay? But circles don't exist. If it's got any height at all, even the thickness of your pencil on the paper, it's now a cylinder. Well, I can dig a hole in my yard and prove to you the earth is not flat. It has volume to it. There are hills and mountains. Yeah. So I did my YouTube, 6 months ago on answering the flat earthers, because I called Rob Skiba. First I talked to him that I think of. Yeah. Conversation did not go well. But I said, Rob, I'll debate you on this topic as soon as you provide me an accurate map of what you believe. How far is it from Australia to the tip of South Africa?
Okay.
How far is it? Draw me an accurate map. We fly that all the time. We know the distance to here. I said, I would like an accurate map of what you believe, and I would like a flat map of a basketball. Just send me a flat map of a basketball, and then I'll have a debate. So far, it's been real on the other end.
Nothing yet.
Would you like to draw me a flat map of a basketball?
So,
Can't do that.
I like that, and especially your charge to bring him the depth and everything. Ron Wyatt, with this, and I'll let you go and everything, and hopefully I've really enjoyed it. I'd like to go ahead and pick your brain about some more things, be a little more scheduled, if you will, structured. But Ron Wyatt, you're familiar with his work years ago?
Oh, yeah. He was a good friend of mine. Hang on, I've got his book right here.
Okay.
Okay, his wife finished the book as he died. He was a nurse anesthesiologist in Nashville. Died of cancer of the spine in '99. So his wife, Mary Nell, finished the book that he had started, The Boat-Shaped Object on Doomsday Mountain. I spent hours talking to Ron, and his dad took over his ministry. Richard Reeves still has it in Cornersville, Tennessee, exit 27 as you're going north on I-65. It's a converted gas station. His son, David Reeves, has a huge ministry about 20 miles away in the same area, Lower Tennessee. I know them both really well. I got their personal cell phones right here. I can call them right now. Yes, I knew Ron, and I've told many people this. He claimed he found the Ark of the Covenant. He claimed he found Noah's Ark. That's what this book is about. He claimed he found the grain bins that Joseph had made in Egypt. Because if they're going to save up grain for 7 years, that's a big pile of grain.
Yeah.
And cities over there had huge pits dug into this rock. It's kind of a soft rock. Ginormous pits, bigger than a building. And the stairways going down on each side. You go down, pick up your grain, come up the other side, and pay for it. He found those pits. He found just some amazing things, you know. The Ark of the Covenant with the blood of Jesus Christ on it. So I spent hours talking to Ron, and I would have to say, even though he had some crazy beliefs, he was kind of he wasn't a Seventh-day Adventist, but he kind of leaned that way, you know.
Okay.
If I was God, he's the kind of guy I would let find those things, because he was not looking for any glory. He just simply wanted to glorify the Lord.
Yeah.
Most people, if they find anything of importance, their head gets huge and they think they're God's sitting on God's right hand or something, you know.
Right.
But the book, we don't sell this because it's kind of expensive. It's all color all the way through. Beautiful book. No, it's all black and white. It's the earlier version. But you can, it's fabulous. And can you check and see what we can get these for in bulk? Offer them at our bookstore.
Okay.
Yeah. WyattMuseum.com is where you get them now. But yeah, okay. So I knew Ron really well, and I believe he really did find all those things.
So, okay, wonderful. So, I know a buddy of mine, he's a big Ron Wyatt follower and does a lot of study on his discoveries and everything, and he really wanted me to ask you your thoughts on that. So, but look, Dr. Hovind, I appreciate you taking the time out here and just speaking with me and whatnot. If it's okay with you, I'd like to probably try to do this again. Probably sometime early fall time frame, but any final thoughts, any final words or anything?
No, just I'd like to encourage your people, and I'll encourage my people. There's a war going on for the souls of men, for the minds of men, and get busy and do something. You know, there's a war going on. People don't realize how important this is. There is a Creator. There's going to be a judgment one day. And when we teach kids evolution, it removes all that.
Yeah.
There's no Creator. I've asked guys who believe in evolution the simple question. I say, guys, if you believe in evolution, how do you tell right from wrong? On any topic. Is abortion right or wrong? Is sex with your dog right or wrong? Is murdering your 2-year-old daughter right or wrong? Is anything right or wrong?
Yeah.
They have to borrow Christian values and try to put them on society. I had one atheist senior anthropology student in the University of Guelph in Canada. I was speaking up there, taking questions from the audience, and we got into that argument. He's yelling from the back row or something, and someone asked some questions. I said, hold on just a minute, let me ask you a question. Obviously, you believe in evolution. How do you tell right from wrong? He said, that's easy. He said, he was a PhD student, about to get his PhD. He said, that's easy. He said, I decide what's right and wrong. He said, I'm the God of my own universe. I said, I'm glad to hear about that because I'm going to shoot you in 5 minutes. He said, you can't do that. I said, well, sure I can. I'm the God of my own universe. I decided people like you shouldn't live.
Yep. Yep.
Well, what's wrong with that logic? Totally stumped him.
Yep.
He claimed I threatened him. One of his questions he asked, he said, I've got proof for evolution. The human tailbone is vestigial. He's way in the back row of his auditorium. There's like 1,000 students there. I pulled out my Swiss Army knife. I said, sir, I took biology and anatomy. If you think the tailbone is vestigial, I will pay to have yours removed.
I remember.
Matter of fact, I'll remove it. I know right where it's at. Come on up, bend over. And he claimed I threatened him. That's all they're so desperate. I didn't threaten him. Trying to expose his stupidity.
No.
If you want to believe in evolution, you go for it. But it's not science. It's a religion in every sense of the word. You have to believe in it. It's SpongeBob stuff.
Imagination.
Right?
No. I think I actually remember hearing you talking about the whole coccyx issue and whatnot. Now, if I'm not mistaken, part of its function now that we know is it keeps everything up there inside and everything. It provides a bit of a balance, if you will. But so yeah, appreciate your ministry. I appreciate everybody that you have on staff there, all the volunteers you have out there. Lord's doing a great work with just your Creation Evangelism. Again, it's affected me and my family, and I appreciate that. And so I'll be praying for y'all, be praying for your ministry and everything. Again, just thank you for the time, and just appreciate it, Dr. Hovind. You take care, okay?
All right. Anytime. Thank you, brother. All right. Bye-bye.